Huzzah! Here I am, ladies and gents. How are you doing? Sorry I'm early. I nearly said sorry I'm late. No, I'm early. The clocks went forward out here, right? I didn't even know this until I started the stream, until I scheduled the stream. But yeah, it's the same old time out here, but it's 6 o'clock back home, right? So I'm a bit early. Some of you might miss the stream, and you'll have to watch it on catch up. Tough titty. When do the clocks change in the UK? Anyone tell me in the chat? Because I don't even know. I thought they always changed. I thought they changed together. This is obviously a issue with me moving to the United States. I don't even know. When do the clocks change in the UK? Any idea? Al, tell me. 28th. There you go then. So for 2 weeks, the times are different. I'll put a poll up on Twitter, and if you prefer it at 7, I'll do it at noon tomorrow, because I have got the day off, so I can change the time. But we'll see, because I wasn't aware of that until I actually set the stream up. My apologies. Those of you that are in, I hope you're doing all right. Who's in? Let me have a quick look. John Obi's in. Scout Obi's in, sorry. John Hunter, Kev Wright, Harold Stewart, JK, Whiskey Straight, Al, Chris, and Slim. I think that's about it. Right? So it's a quiet stream for a change. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If I need to change the hours, I'll do it tomorrow. Right? Easy. And everybody else can watch on catch up. Gary Lineker then. So you guys obviously seen the video I put out about Al Gaza. What a wanker. The thing with Gary Lineker is he knows something about football, but nothing about politics. And Peter Hitchens wrote a great piece taking the piss out of him. The bloke, essentially, what the point I need to make, which I didn't make in the video, because a lot of people have sent me messages about it, just criticising me, obviously, for having a pop, saying that it's hypocritical to have a go at Gary Lineker when we, people like me, talk about freedom of speech being an issue. And the point I want to make about that is that I am a freedom of speech absolutist, like a lot of people on the right or centre right or libertarian streaks are. And the point I'd make is, Rotten Politics, Brian, how you doing? The point I'd make about that is, nobody would be complaining if the cancellations of other people hadn't occurred, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, Gary Lineker is more than entitled to his idiotic, woke opinions. Nobody's having a pop at him because they don't think he should be allowed to tell you what he thinks. The reason people are having a pop at him is because individuals like Jeremy Clarkson or Piers Morgan, again, may my tongue turn black for defending Piers Morgan. I hate him. I hate Piers Morgan. I've hated Piers Morgan for years. May my tongue turn black for defending him. Piers Morgan is entitled to his opinion. And that's the point I've made many times. I hate the bloke, but he's entitled to his opinion. Jeremy Clarkson and Piers Morgan are two high-profile examples of people that have been sacked, cancelled. Sharon Osbourne's another one. Sacked from the jobs, totally cancelled. I could reel them off all day. Richard Dawkins. Who's the old fella the pleasant, reasonable, liberal old fella that made the joke about women working in research, and he said women cry and you fall in love with them. In fact, I'm going to Google it. Sack professor, women cry. Who was that? Sir Tim Hunt. That was it. So I'll put it up. Fuck it. I'm going conquer deep in this story. This guy. There you go. You remember it, don't you? Have you wet the bed? Yes, I shit myself. Davy. Sir Tim Hunt got hounded out of his profession. And the bloke didn't say anything wrong. If you read, that's the BBC story. A Nobel laureate has resigned from his position as honorary professor at a UK university after he made comments about the trouble with girls in science. UCL said Sir Tim Hunt, a Royal Society fellow, had resigned from his position with its faculty of life sciences. He told a conference that women in labs cry when criticised and fall in love with the male counterparts. He told the BBC he did mean the remarks, but he was really sorry. A statement from the uni read that can confirm Sir Tim Hunt has resigned from his position as honorary professor following comments he made about women in science at the World Conference of Science Journalists on the 9th of June. UCL was the first university in England to admit women students on equal terms to men, and the university believes that this outcome is compatible with our commitment to gender equality. So, reasonable. He made a joke. He's a nice fella who made a joke. Have you got throat reviews? No, I had a drink last night, so I'm a bit hungover, hence the somewhat dry palate. The gargling with whiskey and razor blades. Hang on, I'll have a drink. Right. So, what about his brother Mike? Tim Hunt, Piers Morgan, Jeremy Clarkson. I can reel them off all day. Essentially, the issue with Gary Lineker is not even remotely that Gary Lineker said ignorant left-wing things. The issue is the staggering hypocrisy of the woke. And you know it, and I know it. That's the problem. If those people had been free to express their reasonable centrist opinions without getting hounded, nobody would have a complaint about Gary fucking Lineker. And the other thing that I have to make, the other point I have to make, because some people appear to be labouring under the delusion that therefore this means the BBC is a reasonable centrist organisation. The whole thing is performative outrage, like everything the woke do, right? And I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here, because people that watch me know that Bootneck is black-pilled and he doesn't expect us to be able to win. He doesn't expect the BBC to reform. He expects to get utterly crushed, because that's what's going to happen. And the BBC is far left, and everybody who's been paying attention for the last 10 years knows it, right? So this whole thing is performative outrage by people that know they've won, because you've had a far left activist, woke, Guardian reading, celebrations in Broadcasting House when Tony Blair won, clinking the champagne glasses, covering up grooming gangs, the torture and systematic rape of children just because the people that are doing it happen to have a tan. The BBC covered it up and allowed children to be raped and tortured. That's how woke and left-wing the BBC is. So what they're doing now is engaging in some performative outrage to pretend that they're actually reasonably in the centre. That's all it is. You know it and I know it. The BBC is woke. The BBC is left-wing. The BBC is pro-war propaganda, Klaus Schwab, women with an 8-inch throbbing clitoris, men with fucking a clunge. You know what the BBC is. All of this is entirely performative to try and pretend for a millisecond that the BBC isn't woke. And that's all it is. Owen Jones and Gary Lineker and Keir Starmer and Ash Sarkar and everybody else wading in on Twitter saying, oh my God, the right-wing BBC. They know what's happening. It's performative outrage, just like all the behaviour of woke ideologues. And the BBC is going to give Gary Lineker his job back. And Gary Lineker is going to return a match of the day. And Ian Wright's going to return a match of the day. And Alan Shearer is going to return a match of the day. And they're going to keep being woke on Twitter and you're going to have to like it and lump it. That's what's going to happen. If you are deluded enough to think otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. And to those people who are gobbing off on Twitter saying 25 years of covering up groomers and 25 years of flag waving for the Labour Party and the Greens and the Lib Dems and 25 years of sucking Nick Clegg's balls doesn't make them right wing because they pretended to be outraged about Gary Lineker using ludicrous hyperbole for 10 minutes. That's what's going on. It's performative outrage. The BBC's walking left wing, and everybody knows it. And the thing is, you can tell it's bollocks because this is something that I've made the point of on Twitter to lots of lefties, and none of them responded to me. I was like, okay, then. So the BBC's far right, yeah? It's ludicrous even to say it after the last 25 years. If you think the BBC's far right, they don't think the BBC's far right. Just say to these people, come on then, let's bulldoze it. Let's bulldoze it. I'm Gabe. Lefty arsehole. I'm Gabe. Shall we bulldoze the BBC? Let's do it. They won't. Gary Lineker doesn't want to see the BBC bulldoze because he knows in a week's time he's going to be back on Match of the Day and he's going to be back on Twitter spouting his commie fucking nonsense. Owen Jones and Ash Sarkar don't want the BBC to get defunded. Keir Starmer's more than happy to keep the BBC where it is. People who are Remainers, who've been ignoring the will of the general public for the last fucking 5 years, they don't want to see the BBC go anywhere. So it's all bollocks. It's performative bollocks. If they believed what they said, they'd agree with me. And what have I been saying for the last 4 years, right? That's how long I've been doing this. That's how long I've had a YouTube channel committed to reducing the BBC to rubble. That's why I started a programme called the BBC Spews. No, my first one was the shite you see on the BBC. The BBC Spews was a hint for a name from one of my pleasant, reasonable, sensible viewers. Bulldoze the BBC. Bulldoze it. Cancel the licence fee. Totally defund it. And if they can't stand on their own 2 feet, fucking bulldoze it. Or allow a private individual to take over and turn Broadcasting House into a fucking apartment building. We think that's fine, but the left don't. So it's bollocks. You know it's bollocks. They don't agree with us. I'm more than happy. I extended the invitation on Twitter to Owen Jones and Ash Sarkar, and neither of them were interested. I'm happy to shake on that, Owen. Let's bulldoze the BBC. Get rid of it. Cancel the licence fee. Bulldoze the fucking building. Salt the earth. And then change the Wikipedia entries and pretend that the BBC never existed. That's the right opinion of the BBC. That's the Conservatives' opinion of the BBC. Get rid of it. But they don't want to. So it tells you everything you need to know about the fake outrage, the performative shite of what's gone in the last 48 hours. And if you think otherwise, you're an idiot. Yeah, trust me. Gazza's going to be back on the BBC in a week. And he's going to carry on tweeting woke shit. It's obvious. The Brexit argument. How long did the Brexit argument go on for? And the BBC was 100% aggressively Remain. They're talking about impartiality now. I can give you a dozen different examples of the BBC being woke and left wing. During the Brexit debacle, they would have 4 Remainers and 1 Brexiteer round the table. At best. At best. Sometimes they wouldn't have a single one on. Media Watch have talked about it. They did an analysis of like a 3-year period watching the BBC. And they had something like 368 Remainers on Question Time and like 12 Brexiteers. That's how biased they are. And this last week, they've been going, oh, fucking right-wing BBC. I mean, seriously, how stupid do you have to be if you think the BBC is reasonable, centrist, right of centre? It's ludicrous. It's just them rubbing your faces in it, mocking you, celebrating the fact that the BBC's been captured by woke academics and they want to pretend for 10 minutes that it's centrist and presents both sides of the argument, and it doesn't. Anyway, so there's my piece. There's my piece on the BBC. Seriously, take your head for the shit if you think the BBC's left wing, right wing. Lineker's getting his job back. David Dimbleby's face. Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. The BBC's woke, the BBC's left wing. A 10-minute fake outrage about Gary Lineker. The other point I'll make to Colonel Custer, just to sum up, because I am repeating myself now, is when these fucking maniacs cancelled people like Piers Morgan or Tim Hunt or Jeremy Clarkson or anybody else, none of them said anything even remotely as controversial as what Gary Lineker did. Think of that. Think of that. Piers Morgan got cancelled for literally saying, yeah, Meghan Markle tells lies. That's it. He didn't say anything even remotely controversial. He's entitled to his own opinion. If you think Meghan Markle's sound, you're entitled to your opinion. You can say, oh, I think Meghan Markle's a glorious, wonderful lady and she's a credit to the royal family. You're allowed to say that. I'll defend your right to say that because I'm a liberal, an actual liberal, not a communist. You're entitled to your opinion if you think Meghan Markle's fucking brilliant. But you're also entitled to your opinion if you say Piers Morgan, if you say Meghan Markle's a liar. She appears to be a liar. The evidence suggests she's a liar. So Piers Morgan got cancelled for merely suggesting that Meghan Markle was a liar. Jeremy Clarkson got cancelled for joking and making a Game of Thrones reference, which everybody recognised, and saying, I'd like to see Meghan Markle stripped naked and paraded through the streets like Cersei Lannister. He was making a joke, a quip, based off a popular TV programme / book. Gary Lineker literally called run-of-the-mill centrists full-blown Nazis, which is the 12-year-old girl's guide to argument. That is hyperbole of the worst kind. Of the worst kind. It's detestable. It's detestable. If you get some normal, run-of-the-mill, boring, centrist conservative like Jacob Rees-Mogg, and you call them a full-blown Nazi, you're basically telling the public to murder them. It is incitement to violence because the Nazis gassed babies. They fucking put babies in gas chambers. So if you say anyone who disagrees with the communist is a Nazi, you were inciting violence, you're inciting hatred, you're inciting murder, because there's nothing worse than somebody who gasses babies. So Gary Lineker's hyperbole was 10 times worse than anything Jeremy Clarkson or Sir Tim Hunt or Piers Morgan or anybody else said. Think about it. It's 10 times worse, and they all got cancelled. Gary Lineker is not going to get cancelled. Gary Lineker's doing 48 hours of performative nonsense and then going back on the fucking BBC. So it's a sham. It's a sham. Right, and I'm done. I'm sick of talking about it. What else shall I cover? What have we got? I don't want to do this shit. I really don't want to talk about fucking any more to do with Gary Lineker or fucking Ukraine. We're sick of hearing it. What's this? TikTok users shrug at China fears. Have a look. TikTok users shrug at China fears. It's hard to care. TikTok has been banned on government networks and devices in the US. But are the moves having any effect? Why would they? Who works for the government? 10% of the fucking population. Again, this is performative nonsense. Don't care. A slap in the face for Hollywood. What's that? While this year's Academy Awards ceremony has largely been controversy-free, it was radical in its own quiet way, writes Nicholas Barber. With the absence of some of Hollywood's biggest names, a sign that the US film industry's certainties are crumbling. All right, well, I'll do this because I'm sure you lot know what's going on here. Hollywood's in the shit because Hollywood's woke. Right? It's very simple. The people that I like to watch on YouTube, like the Despot of Antrim or Reaper or the Critical Drinker, I'm trendy me, so I move away from the ones that are massively successful. Reaper and the Despot of Antrim are my favourite film reviewers. And they'll tell you that Hollywood is ludicrously woke. And that's why Hollywood's going down the pan. Nobody wants to watch that shit. So, of course, the certainties are crumbling. Ant-Man was dog shit. It was dog shit. I didn't even pay for it, and I feel like I got ripped off. Right? That's how bad Hollywood is now. You can steal content, and at the end of it, you feel like you've been robbed. That is how shit Hollywood is now. I pinched it, and I feel violated, like they've took something from me. That's how fucking shit these woke films are. It says, and Kimmel, Jimmy Kimmel's presenting it. The presenter's a woke twat. Who cares what Jimmy Kimmel's got to say? I'd rather listen to the sound it would make while my granny was being gang raped by 50 gypsies. I don't care what these people have to say about anything. Of course, Hollywood's gone down the fucking pan. What's this? In recent years, the Oscars have been debacles where that was because of an envelope mix-up, the socially distanced gloom. But this event was slick and competent enough to convince you the producers knew what they were doing. Really? Really, you know what you're doing? You're making films that nobody wants to watch. And you know what you're doing? Yeah, you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars making films and the shit. And you want to tell me that the producers and directors know what they're doing? No. Let me tell you what to do if you want to be successful in Hollywood. It's controversial, right? And this is going to surprise a lot of you. Do you know what you have to do? Stop being woke. Easy. You know, like how they're essentially about 9 or 10% of the population, but they're in charge of the entire world. The same numbers apply to Hollywood. The general public do not want to be lectured by pill-popping, sexual deviant scum. That's what's going on with Hollywood. This can, I can segue into a chat about Star Trek because I recently had an argument with a woke twat on Twitter. And he said to me, how come you're so right-wing? I'm not so right-wing. I'm centre-left. I'm just a libertarian, and I think people should be allowed to have their own opinions. Right? Controversial, I know. I had a chat with an old woman in a pub yesterday. There was 2 old ladies in the bar, and I started chatting to them because I like old women. Older people have the best crack, don't they? And I said to them, what do you think of Trump? And these 2 old women said, he might have been rude, but you can't fault him for his policies. When he was in charge, gas prices were lower. Petrol, if you're in England. Gas prices were lower. Energy prices were lower. We were in no wars. We didn't invade anyone. We didn't bomb anyone. Things were going well. If you just ignored his persona and just looked at his policies, you can't say he didn't do a bad job. And one of them said, he did annoy me because he was homophobic. So I didn't really like him. But I echo what my sister said, and you can't deny his policies. And again, this is the point I would make to someone, right, who's watching this, who's woke and thinks I'm a bad person, right? Bootneck was raised in the 90s, and Bootneck is pro-gay marriage. I feel, and again, I'm sure I'm disagreeing with lots of you in the chat, I feel as if it doesn't do any harm to allow grown men and women to do whatever they want. And those of you that will disagree with me will say, yeah, but there's... Because the counter-argument to gay marriage, for example, is that it causes civilizational decay, it sets bad examples. There's arguments against it. I disagree because I think, as a parent, you should be doing a good enough job where you can counteract anything that you think causes civilizational decay, right? So to me, I can see the argument against allowing it. And I certainly don't think you should force churches to do it. Obviously, you have to allow people the freedom to move however they wish. Again, the liberal argument works with this type of thing. If you go to a baker's and they don't want to make you a gay wedding cake, the Thatcherite, because I am a Thatcherite, right? I'm a free market libertarian. The market takes care of that problem. If you go to a baker's in America and they don't want to make you a gay cake, it's very easy to find a baker's that will make you a gay cake. So the baker will forego the fee and harm his business, and you can find very easily a baker that will make you one. And there's no need to crush people's rights, because the gays can still get the gay cake, and the baker doesn't need to be bake the fucking cake, right? Because that is ludicrous. That is ludicrous. The idea that you're going to force someone to create a work of art. It's one thing to say you have to fucking serve people, but it's another to say they have to create things. I mean, it takes effort to make a cake. What you're going to do, pull a gun out and say you will bake the cake bigger. The libertarian market outlook fixes the problem, because you'll just walk down the road and get another baker who will make the gay cake. You don't need to fucking force people into things. And the point I'm getting at is, even though I'm pro-gay marriage and I'm not homophobic, if you want to be liberal in your principles, then you have to accept the fact that people are allowed to be homophobic. A good example is any old people, my dad or these old women. Older people typically are a little bit homophobic, but it's not the end of the world, right? Controversial, I know. Fucking hell, Susan, not in the face, Susan. They're allowed to be. My dad doesn't want to kill gay people. He doesn't want to harm them. He just thinks it's a bit pervy and weird, and he doesn't support that lifestyle. I don't agree with him, but the world's big enough for all of us. If you're actually a liberal, which the woke aren't, the fucking communist, authoritarian, full-blown fascist lunatics, if you're actually a liberal, you think the world's big enough for all of us. You're allowed to be a little bit homophobic. You're allowed to be a little bit racist. I'm not homophobic or racist, but you're entitled to your opinion. If you want to hold the opinion that you think mixing the races and having a diverse society and having gay marriage is a bad idea, as long as you're not promoting violence and murder and gulags and death camps, you are entitled to your opinion. And I'll argue with you and say, I don't agree. I don't think this is sensible, your position, but you're allowed to have it. And that's the point I'd make about Trump. The bloke's entitled to his fucking opinion. If he doesn't think gay marriage is good, well, let's talk about it. But the idea that you should just be fucking destroyed for disagreeing with these lunatics is completely ridiculous. And that's what I keep saying to people like me or Salty Cracker, or, I mean, most of the famous YouTubers that are popular with right-wingers now are liberal. Salty Cracker is not a right-wing person. It's a Gundam is another one I like. He's not right-wing at all. He's a socially liberal libertarian who simply thinks to remain consistent in his beliefs, you should allow people to disagree with you. And we're living in this fucking society where they crush you for disagreement. Nobody's saying kill them all, round them up, lock them up, murder them. They're just saying, I don't really agree with that. And they're like, fucking hell. Do you know what I'm saying? It's madness. I can't believe that I have to make these points. Just a working class bum on fucking YouTube. And I appear to be the only person saying it. People on YouTube, I mean, obviously I'm not the only person saying it. You don't see it in the public sphere at all. Someone should be on Question Time going, well, I'm pro-gay marriage, but you don't have to be, right? That's a liberal position. You don't have to be pro-gay marriage. You don't have to be pro-mass immigration. You can disagree. It's fine. The world's big enough for all of us. But this is what I'm on about. This is how you know we're living in a fucking totalitarian death camp, because you're not allowed to disagree. You can't just say, well, no, I'm not on board with that. I think we should let in 5 million unvetted fighting age men from third world countries every fucking year. You're allowed to say that. But if you say, I think that's a bad idea, they're going, oh my God, racist, killer, murder, death. No, I just disagree. Easy. And Trump is entitled to his opinion. And Trump supporters are entitled to their opinion. And if you don't want to be pro-gay marriage, you're fucking allowed. You're allowed. And I'll disagree with you, but the world will keep turning. Funny old thing, I think that's a liberal position. What say you? Anyway, went on a bit of a tangent there. You know what I'm saying. The woke thing is bollocks. If Hollywood wants to do well, stop being woke. The general public aren't woke. 90% of people aren't. Pro, stay out of my business. Yeah, me too. Me too. But apparently that's a controversial position. Right, anyway, I'm hungover and my voice is my throat's dry, so I'm not staying late today. Tomorrow I will stream at 7 p.m. UK, unless you don't like it. Let me know in the comments. Put a comment in the video. I'll move the stream and do it at 7 p.m. tomorrow, because that seems to be the time everybody's used to. All right? Thanks for watching. Toodle fucking pip. Let me know in the comments if you don't like the timings. I'll change it. All right? But let's go off 7 p.m. tomorrow. All right? Toodle pip, ladies and gents. See you very soon.